Welcome to Window on the World. I'm your host, Yaneli Lopez. In this edition, we are in conversation with an international student from Nepal. Joining us today is Bishesh Maharjan. How are you doing today?
I'm feeling fine, but I'm a little nervous.
Oh, well, excited to have you. So welcome. So let's get started. So what part of Nepal are you from?
I'm from Kathmandu. It's the capital of the country, and I was born there. I've lived there all my life, so I think I really know a lot more about Kathmandu than the rest of Nepal, which is a lot different. There's like landscapes, mountains. On the south, there's like a big plain. It's really hot. I think Kathmandu is really, it's the ideal place to live in Nepal, and I think that's why it's the capital, and there's tons of people there.
So what's your hometown like? Like, is it just always crowded, or is it like?
My hometown, it's a small town within the valley itself, and obviously I was born there, but I moved from one city to the other when I was like 3, and the whole valley itself, it's really congested. Lots of people moving in over like the past 3 decades, and yeah, it's what I've known. I've never really known like the village or the countryside life, so I've always had my dad take me places in his car. Didn't really travel alone, and yeah, it's nice.
So you haven't traveled like to other? Is it like cities, or is it like villages, or like?
The rest of Nepal is not really like, it's not on the level of Kathmandu. There's a couple other major cities, but still, if you had to really choose a place to live, you'd always go to Kathmandu itself. That's why.
Okay, so what's it like? So what would it be like living there? Are things just like expensive, like how we have here, or like the houses set up different?
Yeah, inflation really, it's been hitting us hard, especially I think like since COVID. Like there was this whole black market thing where prices went up tremendously, and you could get things for half the price that you get today, with more demand, the supply can't really keep up, and everything's been getting more expensive, but the salaries, they've just, they've stayed idle.
So we've been struggling pretty much everywhere. So what are the houses like there? Are they like set up the same as like here, or is it?
I think it's a different system where I think in America, you have like big companies sort of make like a housing for you. Whereas in Nepal, you have people, landowners, they give out small plots of land, and then the person who owns the land now, they can do whatever they want within the space. And everyone has their own plots of land, right? Which makes there's no real planning, which if you look at Nepal from an angle, it looks really, disorganized.
So it's like pretty much when you get land, you can do what you want with it.
You got to stay within obviously the rules, but everyone has their own idea of a house, the color, the number of floors you build, and I don't really like the way it looks. It's just, no.
So what's the weather like there year round? Or is it like here we have the 4 seasons? Is it the same over there?
We have like a rainy season too. It's like a monsoon season where it rains a lot, but it's part of the 4 seasons. I think weather in Nepal is really nice. I haven't really experienced the winters here yet, so I don't really know how cold it'll get, but the weather, I looked at it on Google, and it never really goes like below minus like 2 even. It's really nice, and I think part of the reason why I didn't really get sick is the temperature's not too cold, not too hot, so it's, especially in Kathmandu. If you go to the northern parts, it's mountainous and it's cold. If you go down, it's too hot to live. And
so like in between,
and we don't really we don't have standard air conditioning like here, so whatever the temperature is outside the house is the same inside. So right now I could be wearing a t-shirt inside even though it's cold, but in Nepal you'd have to wear a jacket even inside.
So it's like pretty much everywhere it's going to be the same weather. That's interesting. So I know Nepal is known for Mount Everest. Have you personally gone, or have you climbed it yourself?
Like I said, I don't really do well with the cold. So even if I wanted to, which I don't really want to, but if I had to if I maybe had to go to the base camp, I could, but I don't think my body will really let me.
Have you seen the base camp? Like, have you experienced the base camp or anything?
It's like from Kathmandu, it's like northeast.
So it's further away.
It's very far away, and it takes a lot of even training and money, and some people just don't find it worthwhile. I
That
think it's
is
more of
true.
a tourist thing.
So not something you'd plan, like not even in the future, not something that you're not really interested in trying.
No, not really.
Not for the cold. And so, what is your favorite food at Nepal? And what does it
Oh.
consist of? Or
I mean, the main difference between here and in Nepal is obviously we can't. Our national animal is the cow,
okay,
so we can't eat cows. So we have buffalo meat, and anything that you would make with beef here, we make with buffalo meat, and we have. I think like culturally speaking, like I'm a Newar, so Newari food is obviously very different from the rest of Nepali food, and then there's other foods. So for me personally, there's something we call trela, and yeah, it's like it's very spicy. It's spicy meat. You just eat it just as it is, but we have tons of other dishes. And then I think the most popular food in Nepal is momo. It's like the buffalo meat dumplings, and that's like the most famous street food. You can find it almost everywhere.
okay.
And then it's like a very convenient office snack. You have it during lunch breaks or something like that.
So that's kind of like your most common. Like if someone were to go there, that's what they mostly find. I suppose.
It's like maybe having a piece of slice in New York. You know, just get it and go.
Just get it and go. Yeah. All right. So what about tradition? What's a big tradition Nepal has?
I mean, Nepal is like a lot of people. 80% of the people in Nepal is Hindu, which means a lot of things that happen, they follow that religion. And wedding-wise, I think we do our weddings very differently from like Christian weddings.
Okay, how so?
Where we have obviously the party itself, but before the party we have to really wear these traditional clothes, and then wear like these flower necklaces. I mean, I don't really remember every single thing. Maybe later on, but for now, I think you just have to really look at the pictures. I mean, I can't really describe every single thing, but one big major festival is obviously Dasai and Tihar. It's like in mid-October. Lasts for around like I think 2 to 3 weeks for Dasai and then a week for Tihar. So Dasai is when people go back to their families and they sort of get together and then have fun, play cards, drink. And then Tihar is like the festival of lights, where you decorate all your houses with all these lights and you hang them from the roof. It's sort of like Christmas decorations, but a little different, I'd say. And then I think it's illegal now, they banned it, but you play with fireworks.
Oh, yeah. Well, I can see why they would probably put restrictions on that, especially with the bottle stuff. Is there any traditions that you would consider your favorite or that you like more? Or
I mean, I think everyone in Nepal really looks forward to Dasai. It's like it's holiday time and you get together with your family.
And stuff. Yeah, that's always really important. So if someone wanted to travel to Nepal, what places would you recommend?
I mean, the places I've been include like Pokhara. It's like the city of lakes. Lots of lakes, and then obviously you can go to a bunch of national parks in Chitwan, and then there's obviously you can go to Mount Everest or the tons of mountains that are spread throughout Nepal. But I mean, if I had to really recommend one place, I guess as a foreigner you'd really want to look at the landscapes.
Yeah, that's what I feel like.
I think Manang and Mustang are pretty good, but I've personally never went there.
So what's the landscape like then?
It's like really mountainous. It's like at a high altitude, and then it's also very rural. So you really need to pack a lot of things, be prepared to go. But I think if you go there with people you really love to hike and travel with, I think you'll have a good time.
So clothing-wise, what would you tell them to not bring if they were going to Nepal?
I don't really know actually. Yeah, I've never personally traveled like that. The only real traveling is I did is with my family, and we don't really stay overnight. Like in Pokhara, we obviously went for school trips and stuff. It depends on what time of the year you go. If you go to winter, you obviously need to pack thick clothes because the AC. There's no AC.
Yeah,
so
like you mentioned, the weather you're gonna have outside expected inside a building.
If it's winter time, then the higher the altitude, the colder it's going to get. So you really need to pack accordingly, I'd say. I mean, on the south side, it's going to be really hot, so wear thin clothing.
So I kind of just have to come prepared for any kind of weather at that.
Yes.
All right, well, we're going to take a short break, but we will be right back to hear what our student from Nepal thinks of Joplin and the U.S.
Hello from the studios of KGCS TV. I'm General Manager Lisa Oligas. We're making lots of changes to modernize and bring you better quality video and content, but we also need your help. We want to find out how you watch KGCS and what you like to watch. So we'd like you to take a quick questionnaire. It's as simple as holding your phone over the QR code on your screen. That code links you to a short survey. If QR codes aren't for you, find a link to the survey on our Facebook page. And thank you.
Welcome back to Window on the World, the show that gives us insights into countries that are home to our international students. We are talking about Nepal with Bashesh Maharjan. All right, so tell me, what was it like traveling to the U.S.? What were you feeling?
Oh, I mean, it was my first time traveling overseas.
Okay.
And so with that in mind, I mean, it's going to be a long trip. Like the trip in total at 5 hours, 15 hours to 20 hours.
That's a lot, yeah.
I mean, it was a long trip for my first time. I would be traveling alone, but it was nice. The people on the plane, I got to talk to them, and really, I landed in Atlanta, which means I got to sort of have a bit of an insight on what they would be doing. One of them was a fellow Georgia State student, so it wasn't that bad. But obviously, I couldn't really sleep on the plane, so it made the trip a little longer.
And long is that? So was that your first time on a plane then?
Not on a plane, but
just like a long trip and stuff. So what were you feeling? Were you just like nervous, like to get here to here?
Yeah. I mean, it was like me starting a new chapter in my life. So I would be nervous, but I don't think I was as nervous as people really, they're taking as big of a step as I did. It was a fun time.
Has anything shocked you so far from here that's done differently maybe in Nepal?
I guess the food.
You weren't prepared for the food?
Yeah, the food. I mean, it wasn't really a thing you were expecting to have such a drastic change in. I mean, obviously, the distance between any establishment or any housing, like you need to have a car here to get from one place to the other. Because in Nepal, I used to take, tempos.
No, I don't know. So what
there
is
was
that?
like small forms of transportation.
Oh, okay.
And then obviously vans and buses. They used to like run all day. And then, but even like there was like a lot of public transportation, but they'd all be full because that's what people relied on. Here, obviously, it's very different. Even if I had a bicycle, maybe in half an hour I could get to where I wanted to. Here, I don't think you can really do.
Yeah, here is a little bit more tricky, and unfortunately, cars is like the only way to get anywhere. So, with you, are you on the campus here at MSSU? Or, okay, so is the food change? Like, I know you mentioned you guys don't eat cow, so I'm assuming like stuff here, has that affected what you've decided to eat here? Is it still?
I think I've pretty much become used to the food. I mean, I hear my fellow country mates really complaining at times because they just can't get used to it. Most of them don't eat beef or even pork. And that way it becomes harder. One of them is a vegetarian, so he just can't have anything. And if people had they had their own kitchen, they could really do, because they're great cooks, not like me. So I think, since I'm not that great of a cook, I'm fine with what people serve me. But if you have the ability to cook yourself, then you're obviously gonna have complaints because you can make something like to the best of your ability.
Are the ingredients the same? Like if you guys were to make a meal, let's say from Nepal here, can you guys find the same ingredients, or has that been kind of?
We do need to find like Fox Farms, or if it's in a major city, I think it'll be easier because you have immigrants living there selling imported spices. Spices are definitely important, and we cook. I mean, it's not that different, but I think we have our own culture and the way of eating, I guess. I mean, the combinations that we make the food, they're obviously different.
So do you have you found a favorite American food yet so far, or are you still kind of iffy on some?
I'm fine with the food, but I wouldn't say anything's like my favorite. Like,
it's a lot.
No.
So it's still greasy, even though like from here it's still kind of greasy-ish and stuff. It's different. So what motivated you to come to MSSU or pick MSSU?
I mean, I think Missouri was one of the states I'd always considered to come study, And I really wanted to study in a college town where, you know, you wouldn't really have the pressure of hustle and bustle of a major city.
Yeah.
But I didn't really expect, you know, just because it was a college town, you couldn't really get anywhere without a car. That was a big problem. I didn't really expect that.
So living on the dorms has it helped you, or?
But I would recommend anyone coming here to live in the dorms, or at least somewhere where it's close to campus, because you really need to connect with people to have a good time. I mean, you could. There's so much you could do just by focusing on studies and, you know, just trying to get by in college.
Yeah.
But you need to have the emotional support, and you need, you know, most of all, you need to have fun.
So are you enjoying the dorms, or?
Yeah. I mean, I don't really, you know, do much. I mean, most of my friends are in the other buildings, so I have to sort of go there. But I'm having a pretty good time, I'd say.
Oh, good. That's glad to hear. So what are you studying for here at MSSU? What are you hoping for as a future job?
Oh, I study computer science. I think I've always been competent with doing stuff on computers. So, I mean, it's sort of a, you know, I have mixed feelings about studying it. It's you know, sort of a major player in the world right now, but it's not very interesting. Like, you don't really get to travel and stuff like that. And the more time I spend with like new people, the more I realize that I really love getting to know a lot of different people, and especially international students have their own cultures. You get to learn a lot from them. I mean, I love to, obviously, you know, I watched this one video where it said, you know, the most boring jobs tend to make the most money, and the most fun jobs tend to make the less money. So it's really a matter of compromise.
Yeah, picking jobs here is pretty tricky. I've always heard pick a job, even if it, like, because I know money obviously is a big issue for a lot of us, and I know most of the time they tell you to work where you want to work. Like, don't be somewhere where you're gonna hate it just because you're getting paid. You know, if you're not enjoying it, then you're actually working. If you enjoy it, then it's like fun and stuff. But is there any other future jobs you plan on doing besides computer, if you wanted to change a route or something?
Yeah, I don't really have it figured out. I mean, I'm doing well in my classes so far, but as far as having a total outlook on life, I don't really have it figured out, I'd say. Does Nepal have colleges? Is it different from the way we're set up here, or is it? Nepal, the two big majors are either engineering or becoming like a doctor or a nurse. So if you're a guy, you're told to become an engineer, and if you're a girl, you're told to become a nurse or a doctor. And it's really simple because, I mean, colleges aren't that versatile. They don't really offer the variety of classes because they tend to be cheaper. Yeah. And you just gotta move with the flow, but it also means you're not really studying what you want to. Here, you obviously have like a big collection of classes, and I really appreciate the fact that I get to, you know, take courses that wouldn't really be part of my actual major, but it's nice to have the basic knowledge of, you know, let's say psychology or communications. So
you get to do a little bit of more things instead of just focusing on one.
Yeah.
So do you plan on, like, when you do graduate and get your degree, do you plan on working here in the U.S., or do you plan on going to a different country, or? I
mean, I haven't really figured that out. I mean, I would love to go to maybe Europe or anything, but I really also love to go back home and meet my family and everything. But I guess I'll have to figure that out once
you get closer to it. And does your family, do they have plans on coming to visit as well, or?
I mean, families tend to come to graduations, and obviously it's going to be a proud thing to invite my parents to my graduation. Yeah. But it tends to get expensive, so we'll have to see that too.
Yeah. So is there any other states you'd like to visit here in the U.S., or anything, other plans you'd like to travel-wise and stuff?
I mean, I've been planning, like, I really want to go to LA or New York or maybe Florida, but I mean, we're like in the middle of America, so anywhere you go, it's gonna be really far, and tickets tend to get a lot expensive. So if it's with my very close friend, even if it's more expensive, it's gonna be worth it. So maybe I will plan a trip, but I really want to go to LA, and because I've never actually seen the ocean. So I really want to go to a beach or something. first.
I think the closest one we'd probably have from Missouri would probably be somewhere in Texas, but even then that's like several hours of driving and stuff. Would you plan on coming back to live here in Missouri, or would you go back live in Nepal, or would you like to live somewhere else?
I've always lived in a big, the capital of Nepal, obviously, so I don't really know. I'm not really used to living in smaller towns.
Oh, so you like more bigger cities and stuff, yeah.
For college, it's fine, but for work, I think I'd rather move to a bigger city.
You'd rather be in a bigger city?
Yeah.
Oh, I grew up here in Missouri, so small town is like more what I like. I'd like to go to a big city, but then I'm like, nah, I'd rather be on the outskirts and stuff. But you would want to be in a bigger city, stuff. So, what hobbies do you like? Are they the same as in Nepal that we have here, or is it different?
I've really liked sports ever since I was little, so I didn't really get to play a lot of basketball because we didn't really have the infrastructure for it. If I wanted to go play, I was thinking of having my own hoop built on my backyard, but that didn't go through. So I had to find friends who live close to a local indoor court, and that was finally when I got to play. And that was like after high school. So I didn't really get to do much at all. But here, you can see there's parks everywhere. You really get to, if you want to be an athlete, it's encouraged. And one more thing is driving. I really like driving, but in Nepal, cars tend to be so expensive that you only have a family car. If you're really rich, maybe 2 or 3. And that means that I didn't really get to drive around much. If you live in America, everyone has a car. And especially if you're a college student, that's what you do to have fun. You go to neighboring states or concerts or something. Yeah. And nowadays, cricket too, that I really like to play, but it's become like a national thing where everyone, who wants to be an athlete really goes into that because there's actually a future for it. But yeah, if you have something like a stadium or something where you're encouraged to do it, you're obviously going to make that a hobby too. But if you don't really have, I want to do boxing, but it's you need to find a gym for it, and you really need to spend the time.
Yeah. Do they do boxing? Do you have a specific boxing place, like a gym over in Nepal, or is that something you tried here, or?
Yeah, I want to try it now, but back in Nepal, I didn't really pay attention to it.
You want to really try it?
But I would have loved to try it out. So
have you done basketball? Have you gone check out are the parks? Is the park the same?
I play at the rec center, but I really wanted to go maybe play varsity basketball, but that's gonna be too tough. So I'm just playing with my friends now, right now.
All right. So what was your family? How was your family like? What were they feeling when you decided to come here? Were they encouraging, or was it scary?
I think in Nepal it's sort of like a tradition in a way where if your son makes it out of the country, let's say he goes to Australia or the UK to study, it's something to be so proud of. Because Nepal isn't really that big. It doesn't have the best colleges or opportunities. So if you make it, you get a scholarship, or you have the funds to pay for studying abroad. They tend to be more proud of that rather than getting a scholarship in the top Nepal university. And families tend to work maybe a little differently. I don't really know, but you don't really rent apartments. Like if you go to New York, you're gonna have an apartment, but in Kathmandu, you live with your family even until you have a child. You still live like a joint family. Your grandparents still live in the same house.
So it's all
it gets passed down. And if you have enough money, then you can go build another house.
And most of the time, you stay with a family. It's kind of like the Hispanic culture. We stay your parents don't kick you out when you're 18.
No.
You kind of stay. So that's kind of so. But I'm assuming they were super scared. Just you coming. Did you come by yourself, or?
Yeah.
Were they scared on that?
I think. We'd been planning for me to go abroad for so long that it was inevitable in a way, and I think really only maybe my mom cried a little, but I didn't cry at all because it was something I just had to go out and do, and now I finally got the opportunity to do it.
It's more exciting and
it was
stuff.
Very exciting
So you guys were actually more prepared and expecting and stuff.
Yeah.
So what are your plans for continuing? Are you going to stay at MSSU? Do you plan on being back for the next semester, or?
I've already enrolled for spring this year, but maybe after spring I'll maybe go to a different state because I really want to experience more of America.
Yeah.
And if I have the opportunity to go to different places and study, then I can get to know their cultures. Because even in America, different states have their own things, and I'd really love to maybe, you know, experience the city once I'm mature enough. And yeah.
So what other city are you planning on moving to then?
I really want to go to Atlanta.
Atlanta,
Yeah.
Georgia, right?
I think it's sort of one of the cities where I've planned to stay.
Okay, and so the people here in America, is it different, like personality-wise? Do you greet everyone you see, or is it?
Yeah,
it was different from
something.
Nepal?
Yeah, it did surprise me a little, but it really, especially here on campus, it engages connection.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you're just gonna meet that person one day or the next, or so it's nice to say hi and be like, I've seen you before.
Mm-hmm.
But on the streets of Kathmandu, I mean, there's like tons and tons of people. So obviously not just college kids, but everyone. So I don't think it's really that common. But if if it's a family member or someone you know, obviously you're gonna say hi to them or something. But
you don't have to greet everyone.
Yeah,
you see.
You probably don't have small talk back
Oh,
then.
okay. So did it shock you here? Because I know some people here can be a little rude, or they just like glance at you and stuff like that. Do you still say hi to people here, or do you just walk by? Did that shock you? Or
I really like talking to people, but I really don't want to make them uncomfortable or anything. Because if the conversation is just gonna be so pointless, then maybe sometimes it's better to not initiate the conversation itself. But I really like getting to know. The more I talk, the more I think the better my English gets, and I'm never really satisfied with the standard that my standard is really high. So I just have to keep practicing, and so I talk to my friends a lot, and it really helps.
Well, that's good. Yeah, I'm always nervous to talk to new people. I always try to push myself for that, but most of the time I just keep myself in my little bubble. Oh. All right, so thank you for being here. We really appreciate it. That wraps up this edition of Window on the World. I'm Yaneli Lopez. Thanks to our guests, and thank you for watching.